Hello, everyone. How we doing?
Hey, pretty good, Professor. How's your day?
Pretty good, thank you so far. So don't mess it up. So anything new and exciting while we wait for people to trickle in? Questions about all those emails that you received because I redid a bunch of stuff? Nobody knows they received a bunch of emails, do you?
My phone's been buzzing all afternoon.
Okay. So what I did is there's some people missing some assignments. And so I reopened up a bunch of the I learned things so you can resubmit them. So it just looks like new because I did it wrong the first time. You know, you don't click one little button, one little box, and it just messes everything up. So I had to go through and redo them all. So you should be getting a bunch of do not reply I learn UCR emails. And let's see. All right. Other questions, concerns? How are we doing on the group projects? I'm meeting with a couple of groups after this class today. Anybody else need any more information or still kind of wondering what exactly they're doing? Hopefully by now you're not wondering what you're supposed to be doing because that would be a bad thing. So there seems to be an ongoing debate with the faculty. So what do you guys think about ProctorU, using ProctorU? You guys had to have been subjected to that? Yes, no, maybe? You hate it, it's horrible, bad?
What is it?
Basically, it's an invasive way for the professors to monitor you while you're taking a test.
Nah, open the school back up and then you can monitor me. I don't need you bouncing around on my laptop.
Basically, they take over they watch your laptop as you take a test. And they also, I guess they watch you too, right, through your camera?
Yeah, isn't that like kind of a little bit of a isn't that like a little bit of invasion of privacy? I mean, if I'm in the classroom, why not just bring the kids in for midterms and finals if it's that important to watch them or proctor them, or at least have it optional for it?
I don't know if you watch the news or not, but you have no rights anymore.
Yeah, that's only in California. I go across the border into Arizona, they don't have any restrictions. There's nothing.
I go across the border to Mexico all the time. I can do whatever I want over there.
Hell yeah.
No.
It's way more fun in Mexico, man.
I'm just teasing. Please don't write any letters to the dean. I'm only joking. Remember, I am a white guy named Ken, okay?
Hey, it's Women's Month, so you know, mind your P's and Q's.
I'm invited for the carne asada. Thank you. I make a pretty good carne asada from scratch too, by the way. I'm being canceled. Oh no. All right. All right, so we have enough fun for now. Shall we get down to business? We got 84 students out of 100 and something. So other questions, concerns? So the Proctor U is a bad idea as far as you guys are concerned, right?
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Okay, so I wasn't going to use it anyway, but they were talking about it. Actually, the school doesn't really endorse it because it's not one of the approved ones. I guess there's some other ones that are approved that they're going to try and use.
I also heard that they have access to, since the program has access to your alpha, there's been like problems that they steal some personal data too. So that's like another reason I think that's why the university doesn't endorse it. It has too many scandals.
Probably, and then what they sell the information to all the other the cheat sites. All right. Let's see. All right, let's get started, shall we? That's not what I wanted to share.
Hey, Professor, just one extra question. The IEval, that's a 10-point extra credit, right?
It is.
Copy.
So we talked about that before in my earlier class. So since I grade on a curve, and if everybody does extra credit, it just cancels itself out. So what do you think about that?
I still did the IEval anyway.
So if everybody does the extra credit and I grade on a curve, then everybody gets 10 points. All right. It's the fuzzy math logic. Okay, so chapter 14, we're going to talk about strategy and society and all the other good things that we in chapter 14. Next week, we're going to do a review of chapters 1 through 14 and let you know a little bit about what I want to expect to see on the group project, a little bit more in-depth insight on that. And then for your final, I still kind of tweaking that a little bit. And then your group projects, we can work on them in Wednesday's class. And I will go over some stuff on that if you want to do that. Okay, so chapter 14 is all about social entrepreneur. They talk about everything from here in the United States to in Latin America, where a gentleman we'll talk about in a bit, decided to combine a couple of different things together and help a lot of the farmers in South America become entrepreneurs. Okay, social entrepreneurs at UCR. A couple of years ago, I did a panel with a bunch of social entrepreneurs where we answered questions, had a little Q&A session. Right next to me, you'll see Andy with the red hat there. He's on the far left. He started a t-shirt business to help the Japanese people with when they had the waste nuclear fallout with the nuclear power plant. So, and Amber in the middle, she did the jewelry for women's causes. She did a social entrepreneur business for women's causes, and these other guys, they all did stuff to help their favorite charities and also their favorite social causes. Okay, so a social entrepreneur, an individual or organization that uses free market principles and creates for-profit business with the goal of creating value. Martin Burt is the gentleman I was speaking about. He educated at George Washington University, founder of the Paraguay initiative, Poverty in Latin America, by basically teaching at a very, very young age farmers and their parents how to become successful entrepreneurs and how to get business not only in their country, but export. So that was something that was very, very or that's something that's ongoing, that's very, very popular in South America right now and also in other countries around the world. So the types of social entrepreneurs, social binocular combines existing resources of focused value creation is what they did with the entrepreneurs in South America with the farmers and using their knowledge on farming and bringing together in the classroom and teaching them entrepreneur skills. So social constructor develops new models, products, or services, and then social engineers, advocate for change, design more effective and social systems. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as the hour progresses. Economic value, increase in economy, wealth, or profit. Social value, increase in well-being in non-economic areas like literacy, health and sickness, housing, all these different things that are um, social values that you want to look into that are in the community, and shared value when creating economic value and social value both together. So economic value fails to enhance social value. The crisis over fast food and soda diabetes would be an example. And creating social value destroys an economic value. For example, the $2 billion in lost, or actually it was $4 billion within the last 5 years that they've thrown at the homeless problem here in Los Angeles. They keep spending money, but nobody wants the real estate developers to develop housing complexes in their neighborhood. So you have all of these companies that they say they're the community is basically saying it's a social value destroying economic value. So the people who own the properties that are renting currently to non-homeless people are saying you're going to bring down our property values. We don't want them here. That would be destroying economic value. And that is a major ongoing issue still with the city of Los Angeles and county of Los Angeles. Situations where shared value might actually exist, Cisco Systems, Microsoft, and quite a few other companies do this. They actually create a training academies online. Wozniak from Apple has a big, huge training school that they do, and they train high school graduates or even some college students in how to become IT professionals. Okay, a shared value, the simultaneous creation of economic value for the business and social value for the larger community. So it's not only benefiting the businesses, but the neighborhood that in the community that it's involved in. Economic value, the creation of income, wealth, and other economic outcomes for individual organizations. So the organization, like Burl said in last week's or in Monday's class, we talked about how Burl says that the corporation is only out for itself, and social corporations are the same way. Some are good, some are bad, and they are self-governing. So there's nobody governing over these social value organizations. Okay, so social value improves the non-economic elements of individual lives and community and well-being. All right. So sustainable stockholder advantage, the ability of an organization to consistently gather resources from or provide services to key stakeholders such as donors, volunteers, students, or clients. So when an organization goes into a community, these are the people that are involved with the company and the organization and the corporation, and help the community out by partnering up with these. ValueNet, a model of value creation that describes how an organization interacts with others and its environment to create value. The ValueNet consists of 4 elements: customers, suppliers, competitors, and complementers. So all of the things in a regular organization or a corporation are still going to be here with a social value. So the strategy, the way the organization is, you have the complementer, the customer, the competitor, and the supplier. So it's still, in a sense, all an organization, and it's still a company, a corporation. So a complementer, an individual group or organization that makes customers value the organization's output, more because of its product or service. Microsoft, because of the product that it does, Apple, even Amazon, are able to make large amounts of money, so they can actually put it back into the community and actually get more involved in the community that they are in and do some good. So corporate social responsibility activities are companies designed to further some social objective and that lie beyond the direct economic interests of the organization. So the companies get involved in the communities because they want to, because they're part of that community. And that just kind of reinforces what Professor Dodd said about the stakeholder model. Okay. So a company, first, what it does is its economic responsibility is to make money. And without making money, they can't contribute back to the community which it is a part of. And then the legal responsibility, obviously not polluting, paying people a fair wage, all these things a company does. And then ethical responsibilities. We talked about how Wells Fargo banks $2 billion a year in collecting overdraft fees may not be ethical or may not be legal, but definitely it might be on the borderline of ethical, depending on if you're a shareholder or a stockholder. And then philanthropic responsibilities. What does the organization do within the community? Does it build parks? Does it help the high schools out? For example, here in Temecula, where I live, the Pachanga, the casino there donates a lot of money to all the high schools here. They donate all the money for the 4th of July fireworks display that they have every year. So they donate a lot of money to the community in a lot of different ways, and organizations do that. And not only that, it's a great tax write-off. Okay, so economic responsibility is a firm's obligation to generate economic profits, like I said. Legal responsibility, obey the written laws of the land. And then ethical responsibilities, a firm's obligation to abide by the unwritten ethical standards, norms, values of the community in which it operates. And that is kind of something that you can change according to where you are. Some ethical standards or norms are quite different in other countries. For example, Dole, in Colombia, Dole for many, many years did business with a few of the different villages down there. So for over 100 years, and then the United States Senate or Congress decided to declare the people that they were doing business with enemies of the state. They declared them terrorists. So suddenly Dole had to pull out of there. They had to pretty much close their business and leave because they weren't legally, since they were an American company, couldn't do business with them anymore, even though that was a norm for over 100 years. And then the philanthropical responsibility, a firm's obligation to contribute to the enhancement of the community in which it operates. So building parks, taking care of some of the financial responsibilities that happen in the educational system in high schools, middle schools, and grade schools. So all those things are firm social responsibilities. Like myself, when I started a company, I didn't start it because I wanted to contribute to some charity or because of some cause. I did it because I didn't work very well with other people and I needed some way to make money. And I figured if some of these people can do what I'm doing and make a good living at it, I can. Like myself, Levi's, didn't start off as that. But later in years, I, did a lot of work with City of Hope, some of the community centers for the children. I donated a lot of time, in Rotary International and some of these other organizations that actually help the community and do a lot of things. And Levi Strauss has done that. Only took them over 100 years to do it, but they started doing it. What they did is water design manufacturing has saved 1 billion liters of water. So what they did is they revamped the way that they manufacture using water, and it's worked out quite well for them. So, a lot of other companies are using solar panels on the roof of their building. So they're trying to eliminate their carbon footprint, trying to be better, more responsible members of the community, even giving to organization HIV and AIDS like Levi's did. So Google, Microsoft, Starbucks, Ben and Jerry's, some of these companies are the top 6 that all do that kind of things. You notice you don't see Volkswagen up there. So corporate social responsibility is a type of international private business, self-regulated, that aims to contribute to societal goals of philanthropical activists and charitable nature by engaging in supporting volunteer or ethical-oriented practices. So a lot of these companies are very much involved in their communities, and you have lots of companies that are not. A company like Volkswagen, the big scandal, and they had to pay billions of dollars, or not billions, but millions and millions of dollars on the way that they programmed the car to give lesser emissions when it went through the yearly I forget what they call it, for your tags. So they had to do the testing for the tags, and so when they did that, the emissions went down. That it was pollutant, but for performance reasons, when you're driving it normally, they would go through. It would be a lot higher. So many companies act very unethical or very illegal like that. So they basically are polluting more than what they should be. So what are their economic responsibilities? To provide good jobs for the employees, timely payments to suppliers, profit for shareholders. So a corporate social responsibility, internal areas of responsibility. So you have your legal compliance without loopholes. So you don't try and always get out of something like my example with Google, how they're paying more taxes than what they actually should have, even though some other countries are going after them. They're still, they're not even fighting it. They're not even saying, hey, legally we don't have to pay this many taxes, but they feel kind of guilty about that. So they go ahead and contribute more money than what they have to. Middle areas of responsibilities, value, environmental standards, labor standards, supply chain management, stockholders. Many of the companies that are not socially responsible, we'll get into that in a few moments. External areas of responsibility. So Coke and Pepsi, their social responsibilities, what are their legal responsibilities as compared to what they should be doing as being part of the community? They should be including clean water, waste disposal, to comply with labor laws. For example, Coke and Pepsi decided that they were not going to have such high sugary drinks, and then also because of many of the states decided not to allow the Coke and Pepsi in schools, they started to branch out into other drinks, water, other drinks, other sports drinks. Even though some of those sports drinks, they still have 30 grams of sugar in them, so it's very, very high in sugar, and contributes quite a bit to the to diabetes here in the United States, where we have many problems. So this is a big island of plastic in the South Pacific. So as you can see, there's a lot of Coke and Pepsi bottles in there. Actually, you'd have to zoom in to see that, but there's a lot of Coke and Pepsi bottles. And I want your opinion. What do you think some of these big corporations like Coke and Pepsi should do about, even though they are not directly throwing away these plastic bottles into the ocean, what do you think they can do about this kind of thing? Nelly, what do you think?
Well, one thing that Coke actually recently did is they released a new bottle type for the first time in a really long time. It reduces a lot of the plastic that would normally go into the bottles. And they've also released a paper bottle. It still has a plastic cap, but they're experimenting with, like paper bottles. It's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Is that kind of like the paper straw that lasts all of maybe half your drink?
I haven't looked into it, but I imagine it's more like a carton material that holds the liquid. Otherwise, how's that going to keep?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Coke is on the right track. I wrote my chapter paper on how Coke is they have this 30-year initiative where by the end of it, I think by 2030, they want to recycle one bottle for every bottle they put out. I don't know if it's enough, but it's a good precedent.
Yeah. The recycling efforts are getting a little bit better in many industries, but still it's actually more costly to recycle than it is to make new. So there's really no incentive for that. A lot of the deposits that you put on these plastic bottles, you know, you can recycle them, bring them back to a recycling center and get money for them. I think some of the states, and then like somebody mentioned Mexico in the chat room, you actually have glass where you can recycle it many times over. And they usually put, it's like 10 cents, or I know Oregon has a, you know, it's like 10 cents for a glass bottle. And you bring it back and you can't get another one. Like in Mexico, you can't get another drink unless you bring back a deposit, or you have to pay an absorbent amount to get it without the deposit. Kind of like the gas cylinders for the barbecues. So you know it's $45. You know if you bring an empty one and get a new one, as opposed to just buying it outright for like $100 or something ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, and then like in my industry, the remanufactured toner cartridges, they cost you know $10 to make a remanufactured toner cartridge, and they sell it for $50. So HP, it costs them $5 to make a or to make a new toner cartridge, and they sell it for $100. So in many industries, remanufacturing something actually costs double than what it costs to manufacture it from new. So that's not always an incentive for these large companies to do stuff like that. So that's another thing you have to be very, very careful of. So what are some other examples of companies out there that decided not to really be good community citizens, that are polluting the environment, making products that end up in waste into landfills that are going to be there forever?
Hey, what happened to the coal industry when they were dumping the waste in the rivers?
The what industry?
Wasn't it the coal industry or like a power industry? They're dumping like waste in rivers and lakes, polluting the environment.
If you lived back in the 70s, yeah. A lot of the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, actually put a stop to almost all of that. So like all of the coal burning electric plants actually filtered out the exhaust of the coal. A lot of the other types of energy have actually had a lot of regulations put onto them to have clean air and not pollute. But the automobile industry is actually, like I just talked about, Volkswagen. You know, they're very sneaky about it. And then, well, California has the toughest laws against that. But many states don't have any laws, and the United States doesn't, as a whole, doesn't have anything on that. So they have guidelines that they want to meet, but nothing, you know, written into law or anything of that nature. Really, from carpet manufacturers? Explain.
Yeah, I got an ad on one of my social media accounts from Ruggable, which is those carpets that you can throw in the wash.
Uh-huh.
And you know, I investigated like what their claims were, and yeah, they said 3 to 5% of the trash that ends up in landfill, so otherwise trash that can't be recycled or isn't recycled, is from carpet manufacturing, or everything that goes on in the manufacturing process of carpets and rugs.
Yeah, my industry is really bad about that because they don't want to lose money. The HP, Canon, Brother, they don't want to lose money, so they make a lot of the components, especially the parts, non-remanufacturable. So the parts, for example, in a fuser unit, which is actually a heat roller that fuses the toner onto the paper, it comes as one unit, and you can't open it, you can't break it open and replace. Basically, what goes bad on it are the rollers, and so you can't pull it apart and break and replace the rollers. So there's nothing you can do with that. And then the cities don't have a recycling program for that stuff because it's not e-waste, and it's not, and it's just gonna, and it's made out of plastic and rubber, and it's just gonna sit in a landfill forever. Jacqueline, explain what do you mean?
Oh, I just think when it comes, like, I mean, what I said in the comment, like when it comes to shipping, there's a lot of plastic, and I'm sorry, my dog is
That's all right.
very fussy right now. With the way that a lot of these companies operate and the way that they ship, they're producing even more waste than like what they're committing to kind of cleaning up. So it can be like counterproductive. And even then, I mean, there was something like a lot of, for example, fast fashion industries, a lot of the steps that they're committing to, like it doesn't translate to a lot of impact being made specifically. I think like more impact can be made probably by exploring other areas, like even shipping. But I mean, when you think about the fact that just like 100 companies are responsible for like 70% of the world's emissions, like most of the responsibility is put on the consumer to be making these conscious choices, but sustainability and zero waste living is not an accessible lifestyle for a lot of people. It's a high upfront cost that people are paying for because it's an investment. And that's where like the whole lack of profitability comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but these companies are making it more convenient for us by, instead of using paper towels, you can use cloth towels, and then you have your issue of whether it's going to cost you more money to wash those towels as it is to buy a roll of paper towels. So, there's a little bit of a dilemma that way. Paper straws, I use like so. I know the paper straws are like the worst thing ever invented. But that's, I think Jacqueline is right when it says, they're trying to put a guilt trip on us to do the right thing, but yet it's costing us a lot of money in order to, achieve these sustainable goals. So and they're not being a good member of the community. Corporations are not doing that. So, all right. Other questions, concerns about that? Anybody else want to comment? Anybody else want to comment on the big, huge island of trash, plastic trash? So they actually, there's a company that got money from, I think who it was, the Virgin Atlantic guy, to make these plastic scoopers so they can scoop up all this plastic on the surface and recycle it. So I guess there's a couple of companies doing it now. So that's a good thing. Okay. So what pressures do you see on companies to behave in a socially responsible way? So remember we talked about corporations are self-governed, right? So other than laws, we really don't have any way of putting pressure on these companies, right? I mean, you can boycott their product, stop going to Starbucks and spending $5 on a coffee. Yes, no? It's not like the government can just, like with a wave of a pen, change the law. Oh, wait, I guess they can. It's called an executive order. But, they don't. So Chase was charged with felony violations of the Bank Security Act in connection with its relationship with Bernie Madoff. For those of you who don't know who Bernie is, he decided to fleece tons of retired people and other people who invested in their savings and a lot of the even some of the retirement funds. And basically it was a scam, and he ended up getting away with billions of dollars. He's spending the rest of his life in jail. But Chase only got fined a few $1 million for this. So Chase basically perpetuated this, and nothing happened to him besides losing a few $1 million, and by making several $1 million. Walmart. What about Walmart? What do you think about Walmart? I know you want to say something, Jacqueline. Go ahead.
I don't want to say anything. I want to stay muted. My dog's being very loud right now.
Okay. So Walmart is a major contributor why social medicine and welfare have welfare recipients, because they only work their people just enough so they don't have to pay them full benefits. Not to mention the human rights violations, not to mention all the discrimination lawsuits against them and the environmental crimes that they do. This is the world's largest corporation as far as employees and everything go, and a number of stores, and yet there's nobody really holding them accountable, not the community, not the government, nobody. They get a few $1 million in fines and go on with life as as it goes on. SeaWorld, getting into the tank with the big orca whale seemed to be like a good idea in the past, but not anymore. Blackfish, an expose of the cruel treatment of orca whales at the park. But SeaWorld World didn't do anything. They didn't even acknowledge what was going on. They just said, yeah, whatever, and just moved on with life. Monsanto, we don't even mention what they're doing with the cancer case that they have against them because of the Roundup that they use to spray on wheat to make it dry faster. And then we got the GMO crops ruining all the organic farms because they have GMO crops right next to organic farms and they cross pollinate. And that's another ongoing huge lawsuit. So you can see many companies, they're not very involved in the community and really don't care about the community. And they're just there to make money. So social entrepreneurship, the use of innovative organizations and business models to create social value. So for example, what Andy did that I used earlier, he created a company just to help a specific cause. So institutional change. When entrepreneurs strive to change the way people and groups think about problems and the way to create or change social institutions for government policy to social values and norms. China is an example of who does this. The government changes the norms. Unlike our government, they don't do anything because of all the different organizations and other people who lobby against them to not change. So, for example, Coca-Cola in certain countries can make the formula has to make it a certain way. They can't use all the ingredients in that they do here that you can't pronounce and that have like 10 syllables to them. So they don't do that. Like when I was in Spain and Italy, the Diet Cokes tasted 100 times better there. They called it Coke Light. They didn't call it Diet Coke. They called it Coke Light. And it had all natural ingredients and it was only a few ingredients as opposed to here in the United States where they make it with who knows what. So social biocular, a French word that means creating something by combining diverse and different elements into a new setting. Martin Burt, for example, combined the traditional Paraguayan curriculum with proven agricultural education techniques. So he brought the farmers and the educational and did a junior achievement program. So making young entrepreneurs and their parents, business owners on these farms where they can sell to not only the government, but bring their products to market there and also, throughout the United States and other countries. Social entrepreneurial organizations working to create larger institutional change succeed when led by social engineering. So Philip Jonas did this in the 1980s when it came to a partnership for a drug-free America. So the big thing was a frying pan with the oil in it, and you threw an egg in there and said, "This is your brain." They showed the egg, and then they showed the egg sizzling in the frying pan, and they said, "This is your brain on drugs." So that kind of thing stuck with a lot of people, but it didn't work. Everybody was still doing drugs. Nobody cared, even though they were educated and knew that drugs were bad for them. They were still doing them. Today marijuana is legal in in a dozen states. It's proven, or it hasn't been proven that it's detrimental to your health, but it's, putting stuff and smoking things or eating things that are hallucinogenic are not always the greatest thing for your body. All right, so let's wrap things up here. So final exam Thursday, we do at 10 p.m. Extra credit, I know I said email me, but I changed my mind. I want you to enter it in on iLearn, so do not email me. All right, so enter it in on iLearn. And then the final project, 3:15, 11:59, and then you will be evaluating each other, so don't forget about that.